What's going on, guys? We are back and it is frigid cold outside, so I'm a little extra bundled up today, but I've got a pretty big project that I think is going to warm us up a little bit, just because there's a lot of moving pieces here. So if you didn't know by the title of the video, we're working on the truck today, and the truck is getting a pretty sweet upgrade. Now, I am a firm believer that if you own a truck, one of the first upgrades that you need to make is a tonneau cover. For me, I've had this cloth or fabric tonneau cover on the truck since about the week after I bought it. Obviously, it's not very secure, so if anyone really wanted to, they're in there. But all that said, I haven't had any issues. I am, however, excited for our upgrade today, because instead of this tonneau cover, we have the brand new OPENROAD Truck Camper Shell. And the camper shell got delivered earlier this week, and all the pieces to it are now scattered throughout the truck. So first things first, this old tonneau cover has got to come off. Now, as you can see, we have a couple of pieces to the truck cap in the bed. I've got a couple of pieces in the back seat. I'm gonna go ahead and pull everything out, lay it down, get it unwrapped, and then we'll start putting it together. All right, so I got everything mostly unpackaged. We do have a couple of rails here. They're gonna go on the top of the roof. We have the front window glass, the rear window glass, the two sides, driver and passenger, and then the roof itself. We also got a bunch of mounting brackets and these little guys, which I think are also mounting brackets, bolts, keys, a ton of keys, so many keys, holy cow. Some seam sealer, some rubber seal, some tape, a bunch of stuff here, and the instructions. Now, the instructions do say that we're gonna fully assemble this on the ground and then move it to the truck, but I am doing this by myself, and I don't think I can move this without damaging something. So we're gonna try it a little different. So my game plan for the time being is going to be to actually try and install this piece by piece on the truck, and then kind of put the roof on last. Now, is that going to work? I have no idea, but that seems easier than building it and trying to fight it onto the truck by myself afterwards. So I went ahead and added the rubber gasket on the bottom side of the front window, and we're gonna go ahead and put that piece on. Then I'll grab one of the sides and we'll try and line up all the bolts. All right, the first two sides are in place, and by in place I mean I have two bolts holding on that. There's obviously no roof. We got a lot of bolts to tighten down. So here's where we are. I have loosely bolted up all of these interior bolts on this side. I think this idea is gonna work. So we'll know when we go to put the roof on here. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other side and start bolting that one on. OPENROAD did also send a bunch of seam sealer, and the instructions only mention using it on the bolts on the roof. However, I think it probably would have been a good idea to run a bead of seam sealer on where each of these panels come together. Because I've already gotten to where I'm at, I'm not going to do that. I may go back and run a bead on the inside of that after it tightens down. Hopefully just the tightness of that keeps it waterproof, but we'll find out, and obviously I'll let you know if that's something you should do when we test out how the weather impacts this thing. And with three sides done, I think now it's probably a good time to put the roof on just so that it's easier to get into the back of the truck here. To put the roof on, we've got to put these rails on the roof, and then the roof should just plop down just like so. And like clockwork, Chris is here, and now we get to do the roof. So we're gonna put the roof on, then the rails. The rails have bolts that come through all of these top holes, and that's what holds this whole thing together. So we did notice when we put the roof on that it's a little bit out of shape there at the front, probably just some damage from shipping. No big deal though, we should be able to bolt that on. I am going to hand Chris this piece that goes up underneath, and I'll show you on the other side how that works. It just kind of sandwiches the roof on there with the rail. Now, it is a little easier if we pop open the sides here, then we can actually access all of the bolts, and there we go. So now we'll be able to reach up in here and see these bolts. Now, something else of note is it came with 8 of these brackets that are here, and I'm assuming that this is meant to line up with these 2 holes here in the bed, and then also line up with this bracket. Now, we still probably need to push this forward a little bit, but what's interesting is none of these holes actually have any nuts in them, so maybe a situation where I need to buy some nut certs and actually install it into these holes so that these brackets can be used. Obviously, if we ever do put any weight on top of this thing, we're going to want it as structurally sound as possible, so probably should do the nut certs and use these brackets, but we'll see. All right, the roof is on. Now we're down to the last panel. That's this one with a big piece of glass. This also has the brake light in it, so we'll make sure to add that to the video, wiring up the brake light. But we're almost all bolted together, almost ready to have this thing tightened up. So we got the camper all bolted down. As you guys can see, we ended up using these flange adapters that are here to bolt it to the actual bed itself. The zigzag shaped adapters, these guys, I think they would be useful if I was planning on hauling a bunch of weight on here, but for now I'm not, so odds of me needing them I think are pretty slim. But the camper's on and it's super sturdy. Now we've got to wire up this third brake light. And to do that, I'm going to pull the tail light off of here. We'll actually run these wires down and into the back of the tail light. I'll show you what we need to tie into with our 2 clips. Now, pulling off the tail light is as easy as undoing 2 T25 Torx bolts, and then I believe we're going to try and swing it out this way. Now with the light off, it's kind of just hanging here. We need to figure out which of these are going to function as our brake light, power, and ground. Now, as you guys can see, we have the third brake light wired up. Let me show you how I did it. It is as easy as matching red with black over here on this driver's side tail light. So black wire is going to be our ground. That goes to the black wire on the provided brake light wiring. And then red wire is our power. That is also red on the provided wiring. Now, if you guys can see, I routed this wire up through here, through this hole right here in the back of the bed. Now when we get the taillight back into position, I can actually tie all of this up out of the way and we'll be good to go. Now one thing I did end up doing is adding in the seam sealer on any of these joints and the roof where these two pieces come together. And I should have filmed it, but I didn't. I was actually on top of the roof doing that. This thing's pretty sturdy, so no doubt in my mind that it would be good for holding a rooftop tent and a couple of passengers up on the roof. I need to double check the actual weight estimate that it says that it can take, but absolutely no concern when I climbed up there. Now, as for the features, you have an external MOLLE panel on both sides, as well as an internal MOLLE panel and gas struts on all of the gull wing doors, as well as the rear door. OPENROAD does also make some storage bins to go inside of these windows. I believe that may be something that we do in the future, at least on one side, so that I can keep more things stored and off of the floor of the bed of the truck. You also have the rails up top, so you can strap down cargo or bolt up some kind of rooftop tent or whatever it may be. And you have a nifty little step right here built in as well. Now for me, it's been about a month since I did the install. I'm just now finishing up these pieces, but so far in this month, it's been pretty solid. I've had no complaints. It actually has been tested, believe it or not, and you can see right here I backed up into some scaffolding. Totally dumb moment, but all it did was scrape up a little bit here on the cap itself, and I've seen another truck hit that exact same scaffolding with their C-pillar and it wrecked the truck. So it's holding up. One thing I've noticed that is potentially a little bit annoying for some people is that anytime I have had to open the tailgate on my truck, because of the thickness of this rubber gasket, it tends to want to fold under, and so therefore I have had to close the tailgate first and then come back. As you can see, it keeps it nice and sealed there on the bottom. But if you're closing this and locking this like I am every single time, sometimes that gets a little annoying. That's just one of the things that I believe I'm gonna have to live with. Other than that, I don't really have any complaints. I do want to add a light on the interior side of this. I believe on the website it had mentioned that maybe some of the newer versions do have an interior light. I don't know why, for some reason, this one just didn't have it. But nevertheless, I do think it would be beneficial to have a light on the inside of the truck camper. And so I'm definitely going to add something. I'll probably end up calling the guys at Baja Designs and seeing if we can get something for that. A huge thank you to OPENROAD for sending out the truck camper for me to check out. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, there's a link down in the description. It's got all the info that you need. And when you buy it, make sure you come back here and hopefully this install video helps you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've got a ton of other Ram videos as well as Jeep videos on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.